Let me give you a little background on El Paso. El Paso area, mostly Juarez. Juarez was actually called El Paso. Up until like the 1850s, something like that. Anyway, Juarez was actually, they started, the Spaniards actually came in and started settling it in the late 1500s. And in the 1600s, they started going a little bit north of the river. Mostly it was because they were settling in Santa Fe. Santa Fe was actually their final outpost. They were farthest away from anything. It took them like 2 months just to get supplies, to Spain. So when the river was too high, they couldn't cross, so they camped out. That's in the UTEP area. But they camped out over there. And then wait till the river kind of dropped a little bit and they could cross out. So, just to give you kind of a context, in 1776 there were 5,000 people living in El Paso. They're all Spaniards. There's no Mexico back then. So, we'll fast forward a little bit. I mean, back in 1860, 1861 for about a year, at the beginning of the Civil War, this was a Confederate town. Fort was the Confederate fort. And it was mostly down here on the corner of Overland and El Paso Street was kind of their headquarters. Where that Star Western is was actually their hospital. So right across the street from there, when somebody would die, they bury them right across the street. And I never found the bones, but there are buildings there with basements, so we don't know what happened. 1881, they brought the train in. Before 1881, the whole town was built out of adobe, basically mud bricks. The New York Times, a reporter from New York Times came in and he was doing a write-up on El Paso, and they said El Paso would actually look better if they tore it down. So it was a real ugly, nasty place, dusty, dirty, crappy, But 1881 came along and there was a building boom because they could bring in lumber, they could bring in materials to make things. They brought in stuff to build factories, which these bricks right here were made in El Paso. There's a brick factory. So we're self-sustaining. Now this building was actually a carpenter shop, which was convenient because right on the other side of this building over here was a lumberyard. And so it was a carpenter shop, paint shop, that sort of thing. But then when this building, because that was when it was an adobe building, when this building was built, 1902-ish, right around there, it was actually called the Golden Eagle Saloon. So, and it on and off would have different names and stuff like that. So this building being historically significant, no, it's not at all. They could tear it down, nobody would do it. Just old. Now, what we like it for is because of the activity going on. This basement underneath us is huge. It not only encompasses this, but it also hangs off to the east of Kansas Street over there. So it's a huge basement. Now, what we found is that it's almost like a subway for the dead. So, yeah, there's the same few, 2 or 3 that show up almost every week, but then there are other new ones that come funneling through. We were actually told that there are 3 angels here. I think those are the 3 that are one.
That's what I was thinking.
They call themselves the 3 that are one.
Yeah, I was gonna talk to the lady that does my cleansings and stuff and see if she had any thoughts on if she'd ever heard of that.
Because we were told there were 3 angels. But these angels they're not friendly angels, they're not like the pretty little cherubs and stuff like that. They got a job to do and they don't want anybody getting in the way of it. So they're not, what was that TV show, Supernatural, where the angels are mean? That is kind of how we think of it. I haven't ever seen it. So what I'll tell you guys, we're going to go down the basement. There's too much junk right below us. Used to be we'd sit down here, down in this section, and watch the top of the stairs so we could see like things pass by. Well, we're going to skip that. We're going to go straight down to the back side, which is a little bit more aggressive. And we're going to see what happens. Now, pay attention who's standing next to you. Sometimes something else will show up and it'll be right next to you also. And a lot of times a real tall dude. We're not real sure what that is. We don't think that was human. There is a guy by the name of Dave. Of course, he calls himself Dave, but they have told us that they don't need names where they're at, so it seems like they all call themselves Dave. Dave's it's a very popular name in the ghost world. But they say that the people who have seen him, and I've seen him too, he's about my size, a little thinner. He's older, he's got white hair. And So, and somebody will come get them. So we think the subway to the dead thing is where they're just kind of shuffling from place to place until it's time for them to go up. But pay attention to who's standing next to you. Also pay attention for air movement, cold spots, smells. Some of it almost like a sweet, almost like an incense smell. Tobacco, not like burning tobacco, but like fresh tobacco and a can type tobacco. Candy, it's very sweet smelling candy. And what else? Who has got a whip? Who's got a whip?
Like the old-fashioned perfume.
The perfume.
The cigar,
powder.
the tobacco. We have it. You and I have the cherry tobacco smell.
Yeah.
We also have cigar smell.
Not here. I don't smell flowers here. Somebody said they smell the flowers, like lilac. So pay attention for that stuff. Yeah, sulfur doesn't have it here. All right, you get. Oh yeah, I gotta describe what this stuff is. I'm sorry, guys. I'm going through all this. Seems like a lot, but this way, when we go to the next place, we won't have to. K2, like you guys see on the TV show, and we use this just to pick up the stray energies that are just all of a sudden popping in. Now, we're going to be as directional. So if I'm pointing at the ceiling, of course I get nothing because there's really no electricity. Down here, you got all the wires on this level, so it's going to be around a yellow. Now, your phone will affect it within about 18 inches. Sometimes, when it calls home, it does. So within about 18 inches, it does. So if you're holding one of these, make sure it's away from your cell phone, just in case it gets a text or something, it'll send out a little shot. So this senses electromagnetic fields. And the way I like to show people is here, you get it close to electricity. You see how close I got to be to this electricity? You know, it's got to be right next to it. So and it's not even all red yet, it's still orange. So if it gets all, there you go. So if it jumps to red, that's a strong signal. And this is actually weighted to 60 hertz, which is right there. But we'll set this on the floor. When we get down there, you'll see there's no electricity down there. And it's just a concrete room. Underneath this floor is about 4 inches of concrete. So we're going to use that. We use this Ghost Meter Pro. This thing does have a volume. So, oh yeah, I forgot to say, if you make a noise, say it was you, okay? I'll say that was me.
Or if it's a little fast, you can say it's there.
Yeah, somebody else. So there's a volume knob on the side. If it's making noise, turn it all the way down, okay? Now we use this for communication purposes. When this light turns solid red, then we have them do 1 blink for yes, 2 blinks for no, okay? It actually senses ELF, extremely low frequency electricity. We'll also be using this cool little thing gadget right here. This is the periscope, and the periscope works on static electricity. So you see how it blinks really quick? What we're looking for is them to come on and stay on. Now, static electricity moves at the speed of light, it's electrons, moves at the speed of light from point A to point B. You should not be hanging around this piece of equipment. And when that thing turns on and stays on, that's pretty special, because that means there's a big old ball of static electricity that is not zipping off somewhere else. It's right there, and it should be grounding out on the ground or something. This is the same thing. This thing right here, as you well know, is a mini mag light. We're going to set these up around the room and see if they'll turn them on and off for us on command. You've seen them work on TV. A lot of people say, well, you know, they get hot and they turn off. Well, yeah, they do. But how do they turn on? That means what we've deduced is that they pull the energy out molecularly. They pull the energy out, slows the atoms down, molecules down, cools off enough to turn on. And we've actually done it with the LED ones. These are the incandescent lens, regular light. But with the LEDs, they don't create any heat. And we've actually had them do it for us on those too. Now this cool little thing right here is called the portal. It's, as you can see, it's just a couple guitar pedals and an amp. And it, you guys have seen them use that radio on the TV shows, like shh. making all kinds of noise, and then you hear, hey. He said, hey, you just said my name. I was like, not unless your name is Dan. I didn't hear anything else. Well, what this does is it takes all that static out, takes all the noise out, and it actually takes this side over here, takes those vocal tones and stretches them out so you can actually understand what they're saying. So that's what we're using there. Millimeter, go ahead. That's wrong.
So the millimeter, what it does, it basically does the same function. It detects the same kind of energy, but it does it digital. So when we go to buildings and we investigate houses, we're able to see numbers. And we usually go through a building and see where the hotspots are, like you know what I'm saying? So if you go in, you feel something different, because with high energy, it will make you feel different. We know